Some ornaments sparkle and others remind us why we love the season. And today, I'm making a few of those ornaments. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name's Melissa. In today's video, I'm showing you 5 different Christmas ornaments that you can make at home, and I think you're gonna love the way they turn out. I can't wait for you to see them. Let me know in the end which one is your favorite. But for now, let's go ahead and get to crafting these beautiful Christmas ornaments. I have this wood hanging decor from Dollar Tree. I'm gonna paint the whole thing with Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster. And I'm only giving this one coat because the project I'm gonna do really doesn't require me to have 2 coats. And the one coat really covered this wood piece just fine. Once that paint has had time to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and cover both of the sides with some Mod Podge, the front and the back, not around the circle, but the front and the back. I'm gonna cover with the Mod Podge, and I'm gonna give it a pretty generous coat, but it doesn't have to be gloopy on there, but just make sure you get around the edges, but you wanna give it a good solid coat. And then I'm gonna let that dry completely. Now I have this material and I'm not really sure what it is. I found it at an estate sale and it's too thin to be a napkin, but it's too thick to just be decoupage paper or fiber paper. But anyway, I'm gonna use the little circles in the design of the pattern to cover both sides of the ornament. And so I lay it down, I get it exactly where I want it to be, and then I'm going to put some parchment paper over it, and I'm going to use my mini heat press to go along the top of that, and this reactivates the Mod Podge, gets it kind of liquid again so that it attaches to that material or whatever fabric. It's a fabric, but it's, like I said, it's too thin to be a napkin. So anyway, I'm gonna just do that until it's completely adhered, and then I'm going to turn it over and do it on the other side. Once I've done it on both sides, I will cut, well, I'm cutting the first side first, and then I go over it with this on the second side. Once I have all that done, I'm gonna sand around the edges and get off the excess material, and then I'm gonna go back over both sides with another coat of Mod Podge to seal that in, and I'll let it dry completely. Now I'm gonna kind of put some rub and buff, and this is the antique gold rub and buff, and I'm just gonna put it around the edges of the front and the back. And by the way, I did want to mention that I am now a seller on Whatnot, and if you've never heard of Whatnot, it's an online kind of auction site. And so some of the crafts that I do on my channel, I do have them in my Buy It Now, but I'm gonna have a link to my Whatnot shop in the description box, and if you sign up using my link, then you will get a free $15 to spend. So I hope that you join me there. I want to add some beads to the top, so I just put a bead at a time on a skewer and just used that rub and buff and painted those beads. I have some red ribbon strung into the hole of the ornament, and I'm stringing the beads on there and just tying it at the top. And this is this really pretty and very festive, simple ornament. I think would be a beautiful addition to any Christmas tree. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the ends of the spool in the Waverly chalk paint in the color Crimson. Now for the center part of this, I'm going to use this page of this book that I got from Hobby Lobby. I paid $7 less, either 40 or 50% off, I can't remember, but I thought this page was really pretty out of all these pages. I love this book, but I thought this was a really pretty page, and I'm going to use this area because I love this little Santa section. So I'm gonna cut it to fit this portion, and then I'm gonna Mod Podge it onto the center of the spool. Then I want to seal it in with another coat of Mod Podge, and I'll let that dry. All right, now here is the part where I start putting all of this together. So I have this dry, and I have this sort of, I'm not really even sure what it is. I just have it in my stash. It's a wire with some gold around it. And I have the buttons that I'm gonna use, and I have them sort of stacked the way I'm gonna use them. And what I'm gonna do is, if I can keep them together. So the way you're gonna do it is you're gonna start from the bottom up. So this is gonna be the button that's gonna be on the bottom. So I'm gonna do most of this in time lapse just because it's gonna take a lot of time to do it. And I'm gonna do it upside down. So, because it's gonna be like, it's gonna hang upside down. So I'm just gonna string it through the buttonholes. And I also am gonna need to use my glasses. All right, and then you just string it down. And then you just keep doing this with each button. You do it upside down until you have gone the whole way through. Once you've done all the buttons, then you will just you'll put the two wires together, string them through the spool like this. Then you'll do the next few. These won't go upside down, they'll go right side up because they'll be on top. And when I get to that part, I will probably take it off a time lapse just to show you what I'm doing and then start again. So I hope that makes sense. All right, here we are so far. And now I'm gonna start with the biggest button, and that's gonna go right side up. All the way down. And then the next button, right side up. right, now at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and tie it off. And then I'm gonna cut these even because I have my red bead. Goodness. Then I'm gonna go ahead and tie a knot down at the bead to kind of hold it in place. And then I'll go up a ways and make another knot. And this is gonna be the top of the loop where you can hang this on a tree. And I just cut off the excess, but that is it. Let me know what you think about this one. I just love this. I decided to keep this one for myself. I have this little mini rolling pin that I've had for a couple years in my booth for the fall holidays, and it never has sold. So I decided I'm gonna take it home and redo it. So I'm gonna take the ribbon off. I'm gonna sand the black paint off of the handles, and I just try to get as much off as I can. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint. You can see I didn't get all of the black off, but that's okay because I kind of wanted it like this. So now I'm gonna paint the rolling pin part with this sandstone, the Waverly chalk paint, and I do give it 2 coats on the ends as well as around the sides. Once that's dry, I have this very vintage music that a friend of mine gave me, and her name is Marla, and I appreciate her giving me that. But I'm gonna use that little transfer on it, and this paper is so old. This one's probably antique, but it's not gonna take that much, and I was thinking I was gonna use the water technique to have to tear around it, but it was so brittle and it was just so easy to tear. So I just tore around the music to get it to the size that I needed, and then I'm gonna go over the rolling pin with some Mod Podge, and I'm gonna carefully place that music around the rolling pin, and then I just tear off where the ends meet, and then I'm gonna go back over the top of it all with a really good coat of Mod Podge to seal all of that beautiful paper in, and then I'm gonna let that dry completely. Now I've let the Mod Podge dry completely, and you can see, you don't even see a seam there, so it really worked out really great. So now I'm going to use this little piece of transfer, rub-on transfer that I've had in my stash. I don't even know what set it goes to, but I am going to transfer this down onto the rolling pin. And if you've never used a transfer before, they're very easy to use. This one was a little bit, I think maybe I didn't let my Mod Podge cure long enough, but this one took me a little minute to get it really started. But once I got it started, it goes on very smoothly. You just rub your finger, or each transfer set comes with a stick that you can use, but for this smaller piece, I just used my finger. But you just rub your finger or the little stick onto the transfer, and you peel back that plastic topping, and you just keep rubbing on the transfer until it's all transferred down. And then once you finish transferring it down, then you want to go over it with either that plastic vellum or your hand, just to make sure that everything is laying down properly and that there are no little air bubbles that may cause it to kind of mess up later. After that, I am going to go over the handles with some Waverly Antique Wax and a baby wipe. And once I do that, then it's all finished. I did go around kind of the edges, even though the edges are already worn looking, I did still want to kind of blend it in. Now, I wanted to put a hanger on this to make it the ornament, but I'm not really sure what I want to use. So I'm just showing it to you like this, and you can really use whatever type hanger you want to put on it.
I love the look of this, and I actually think it turned out even better than I expected it to. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments below. All right, in a couple videos back, I made a salt shaker tassel, and it was a rooster, but now I have a Christmas themed salt shaker, and I found it was a little lonesome shaker, and so I am going to make a Christmas salt shaker tassel, and this can be used just in your Christmas decor, whether you want to hang it from a lamp switch or a doorknob or a cabinet knob, or you can use this as an ornament. So that is kind of what I'm thinking today, kind of ornament related. So I have these materials. Some is like, this is some lace. I have several different kinds of ribbon, and then I'm gonna use some yarn as well as these materials. I'm gonna rip these materials into strips and get all these ready. I have this one, and this was just something that was left over. And so I'm trying to decide how long that is probably gonna be too long. So I'm gonna cut all of my ribbon to maybe this length, and that'll kind of be my guide. So now I'm just gonna tear all my ribbon. I'm not gonna make you watch me do that because it's kind of self-explanatory. So I'm just gonna get all my ribbon and material ready. I have all of my ribbon and fabric cut out and torn. So now basically what I'm gonna do is I am going to start layering them. And to layer them, I'm just gonna make an X, and I'm gonna be very random. Try to be as random as possible. Make an X, and then go across with something. I cut that way too long, goodness. And then just keep going with just your random material. And just keep doing that until I've used all of it up. All right, now that I have them all done, I kind of squished them together, but now I am just going to take some floral wire, and I'm gonna tie it. And when you tie it and twist it, you wanna make sure that you leave enough here because we are going to attach it with that, but pull it as tight as you can and start doing a little bread tie wrap. Do that a couple times. And then I'm gonna cut this. All right, and then here is my tassel part. And I think that looks really cute. All right, so there's that. Now, I took the stopper out of the bottom, and so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this twine, and this is a very thin twine. So I am going to get my glasses on. And then I am just going to thread the twine down into the shaker, and once I get enough down in there, I'm going to fish it out, if I can find it, with some tweezers, like so. And I want to pull enough out because I'm going to tie it, but I also need some up here as well. So I'm going to cut off, and I'll have it pretty long. I learned from the last one that I might not have had it quite long enough. Fish that one down in there. And then fish it out with my tweezers. And I found this way to be just the easiest. All right. And I want to make sure I leave plenty up here. So I've got about this much down coming out, and about probably half, just the same amount coming out the top. I have my little container of beads, and so I am going to use 2 small and I say large, they're not really large, but I think I'm going to do it like this. And I need to see if I'm going to need to tape this, but you want to just thread this through the holes. All right, that's going to be good. I tried to find the beads with the larger openings so that I wouldn't have to tape it. So that's working out. All right. So I've got these on, but I'm not gonna tie them off yet. What I'm gonna do now, let's see. I need to figure out how long. Okay, that's probably enough. So now I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna start tying a knot down here, but I'm not gonna tie it all the way. I'm gonna get it to about right here, then thread one of the little floral wires through the knot, and then I'm going to, let me pull this out a little bit. Then I'm gonna tie the knot like that, okay? Then I'm gonna make another bread tie twist around the knot like that, tie it in another knot, get that in place real good. Then I can cut off the excess wire. Then I'm going to pull it tight, pull these down like that, and now I can tie knots here.
And while I'm tying these knots, I want to make sure that I'm holding those beads down as much as possible to keep that tassel tight in that bottom hole of the shaker.
Get it down as close to those beads as I can. And then I'm going to tie another knot just to make it bigger. And then kind of slide that knot underneath the other knot, if that makes sense. That way it'll just kind of keep it thick. I think I am. There. I did forget that if you want, you can kind of trim the ribbon just to make it all a little more even. Or you can just let them be uneven, which to me looks good too. Adds character. Cut those. Just kind of pull out any extra. I've got to cut that right there. And then this is done. They're very easy, and I feel like the more you do, the easier it gets. But I just think this is so adorable. What do you think about this one? Like I said, I love it, and it is going to be available in my vendor booth. But let me know how you would use it. Would you use it as an ornament, or would you use it to hang it from a cabinet knob or maybe a lamp switch? How would you use it? This project, I'm going to make another wooden ornament. This one's going to be a little bit different. I have this wood hanger from Dollar Tree, and I am going to decoupage a piece of paper on the top, and then I'm going to put a mold on it. So the paper that I'm using comes from this paper studio that I got from Hobby Lobby, $6.99, and I got it for, I don't know, 40 or 50% off. It has a lot of pretty Christmas prints, and the one I'm gonna use is this kind of Christmas village piece. And then I'm gonna use this mold that I actually already had one day on a weekend. Some of us ladies got together at the store where I have my vendor booth, and we just made a bunch of different molds. And this one is the truck mold, and it comes from the Redesigned with Prima mold, and it's made with a resin. So I'm gonna put that on top of the paper. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just take the paper, and I'm gonna put some Mod Podge on top of the ornament, and I'm going to make sure that I get on the edges because I want to make sure it sticks really well. You don't want to put too much of the Mod Podge, and you can let the Mod Podge dry and then put the paper on it, the decoupage, whatever you're going to decoupage, but it's just as easy for me to do it like this. So I've got the Mod Podge around the edges, and I'm gonna try to get it as straight with the hole. While the Mod Podge is drying, I am gonna paint this little truck. And this is, I don't know if you can actually see it. This is like the front of a truck. So I'm gonna paint it red, and it's the Waverly red in the color crimson. Now that this is dry, I'm gonna go over it with a light coat of the clear wax, the Waverly clear wax. I have just a little dab of the antique wax, the Waverly antique wax, just a dab. I really like using the clear wax when I'm using the antique wax because that gives me a better kind of control over how much antique wax gets to stay on the project. the clear wax allows me to wipe some of that back. And if you get too much on there, more than you anticipated or wanted, you can always go back with the clear wax, wipe it on your project, and take some of that antique wax off. Now I'm using my finger sander to sand around the edges. Once I've sanded it all off, I go over the top with another coat of Mod Podge. After that's dried, I'm going to paint the sides and the back with Waverly chalk paint in the color moss. And then I'm going to place the truck on the top. And I have these little strips of ribbon, and I'm going to make a little messy bow to go at the top, but I felt like it needed a little more, so I just took a couple little sprigs of greenery from something I already had in my stash and just glued it to the top. Once that's hot glued on, I glue the ribbon on top of the greenery and cut off the sides of the ribbon to kind of the length I want it. Then I'm going to go over the chalk paint with a clear wax, because I'm going to also go over just the edges. I need to seal in that paint, but I'm going to go over very lightly the edges of the ornament, the front and the back, with the antique wax. And this is how it turned out. I think it's so cute and it's just so vintage looking. I just think this is just going to look so pretty on a Christmas tree. Before we take one last look at all the projects for today, I want to share a Bible verse with you. And this verse comes from 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 24. And it says, He personally carried our sins in His body on the cross so that we can be dead to sin and live for what is right. By His wounds, you are healed. I hope this verse blesses you in some way today. And I do want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today and watching my video. Let me know in the comments which one of these 5 ornaments was your favorite. And if you're new to my channel and you love this sort of content, whether it is thrift makeovers, DIYs, home decor, shopping hauls, then go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Also, I want to remind you to check out my whatnot link in the description box. But if you do subscribe, make sure you click that bell button so you're notified when I upload new videos. And also give this video a big thumbs up because it does help me out with YouTube. And if you want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and check out the boxes you see on the screen right now. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.